What's up, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Savage Crucible. We got some awesome guests here with us today. We got all the way in Greece, Rubis, the barbarian himself, being with us tonight, and also Nikki Nicole, who a lot of you are familiar with her beautiful work and all that, and then also Rob, of course. So welcome, guys. Thanks for being on tonight with us. How's everybody doing?
Excellent.
Good. Not all at once now. No. That's good. That's good to hear. We got people already coming in. One person asking, not on YouTube. I'm pretty sure it's on YouTube. Maybe it took a little longer to get on there because I see some replies from YouTube.
Yeah, there's usually a little bit of delay before it starts streaming on YouTube.
But we got some people from Facebook saying hello. What's up, guys? Looking forward to it. Let's see here. There we go. We got a couple
and
people.
The Facebook guys need to remember that we can't see their names. All we can see
for some reason, you got to sign up with Restream to show your name if you're on Facebook. So I don't want to make you guys commit to that if you don't want to. So just drop a name if you want on the comments. We got Tim in the comments. Let's see who else we got. We got let's see. A lot of Facebook users here, but welcome everyone. Welcome. We're happy to have you guys here with us tonight. Where to start? We have so much stuff we want to talk to you guys about here. So let's start with Yanni, I think. Rubis, why don't you give us a little information about you? Tell us how you got to this point.
How did I get to work for Savage Crucible?
Yeah. How did this all begin? What drove you to create this beautiful art that you do?
Well, first of all, thank you, Rob, for giving me this opportunity. It was completely by chance because there was, what was it? It was for Mythic Legions, I think, for my action figure,
Yep, the MAFC, my action figure.
Yeah, exactly. And Rob had this helmet. He wanted to tweak around and have some options. So I just drew. That's my thing. And when it has to do with action figures, it's actually, my hobby. It's actually the hobby that kept me sane during the pandemic.
Very nice. Yep.
So I did some stuff. I drew some horns. I did some stuff like that, and actually Rob liked it. And that was the beginning.
Very interesting. Now you mentioned you like action figures and stuff like that. I know, or I've seen, you also do some concept arts for some type of miniatures or something like that, or
yes, for D&D miniatures.
Very nice.
That was something that came up with some guys, with a Greek company, Crippled God Foundry. They started making, terrains for D&D games and stuff like that. So they wanted to up their game. So they went into the miniature thing. And they asked me, they know me here in Greece for my fantasy stuff mostly. So the first person you think of when you talk about barbarians and fantasy stuff here in Greece is me. So they came to me. And we started working together like this.
Oh, man. That's very interesting you say that, because I remember from, the brief time that I lived in Greece, fantasy wasn't something that was, very popular amongst the masses, especially Greeks, So it was great to see, you, Rubis, coming from Greece and kind of, bringing that aspect of fantasy to the people there and seeing it kind of become more popular through the years. So that's something that I'm enjoying to see.
Actually, in some way, I made them like it.
That's right.
I forced them to like it.
It's funny you say that too, and I'll post it on the Facebook page afterwards, but Rubis has also done some acting work, and he has this one great video. Rob talks about it all the time. it's called Barbarian Santa, I think.
Yes.
Or yeah. So for those who haven't seen it, I will post it on the Savage Crucible page on Facebook. It is worth watching, guys. It's a masterpiece.
I don't know why you guys are so obsessed with it.
Honestly, there's the way it's shot, and it has this like pulp classic feel to it. So it just hits nostalgia for us, I think, a lot.
Well, it was actually a tribute to Bud Spencer.
Mm-hmm.
He used to make the movies with Terence Hill, and we made it the year that he passed away. It was a tribute to him, actually.
Yes.
And
Very
it was our way to say thank you for all the wonderful memories and experiences.
Well, job well done, my friend. That's a great video for his memory. So
thank you.
Nikki, were you going to say something? I'm sorry.
Yeah, really quick. Someone was saying in the comments that they're not seeing it on YouTube. When you go to YouTube, you have to hit the live tab at the top, and it's up on streaming on YouTube right now.
Thank you, Nikki. Oh, and let's see, who's this? Oh, another Facebook. But thank you so much. Oh man, we're just having a lot of people pouring in here. We got Ryan. There he is.
Hi, Ryan. Hi,
Cool. So let's see here. Let's we can show a couple of things here. Now, Rubis, you were saying how you've done some work for Rob through My Action Figure Customs, and actually a very beautiful piece that we can show that our Nikki painted. This is something that you came up with, the lion armor, correct? Tell us a little bit about that. When you what you were thinking when you were putting that together.
Yeah, well, I love lions and lion men, as Rob can confirm, because I always
tease this with lion man.
Exactly. There you go.
We'll go back to that, guys. Don't worry.
So actually, I was thinking, very. I did it for my own dark purposes. This design, because I wanted to create my own version of Hercules in Mythic Legion figures. So I wanted some lion theme armor. So that came up. I always liked lions, as pauldrons. They're very majestic with all this hair and the manes and stuff. So I thought it would be a really cool idea, but it happened, I think, almost at the same time when the Four Horsemen showed the second version of. Actually, I already draw this. And then I saw that they had the version 2 of Attila, was it?
Attila.
Yes, that's right.
And I was, oh no, this is never going to happen. But eventually it did, and I'm happy for it.
Very nice. Yeah, that loin piece is excellent. For those who have not seen it, or it has a tail, actual lion's tail on the back there. Unfortunately, I don't have a picture to show, but it's very nicely sculpted, and that is sculpted by our very own Kevin as well. So, great work on this. I love this piece. It's one of my favorites from the site. So, now, Yanni, you also you did the graphic novel for Savage Crucible, which for those who haven't read that yet, please pick that up. It's great stuff. You're currently working on volume 2, or how is that going?
I'm waiting for the boss to give the order, and I'm all up for it.
Gotcha. Okay.
We're trying not to stress Rubis too much. He's still working on the secret project, and then
okay.
Volume 2 will start after that. But we have to wait on Rubis, because Rubis is a very prolific artist. He's got a lot going on. So he's got his own comic book, which is amazing. Several different comic books, and he's always doing art for, like, I think Purple God Foundry, and then also some D&D source books as well. So
Yes.
yeah, so we do have to work around his schedule, but I do hope to get started on that so long as Rubis can in the next 3 to 4 months. So yeah.
Sweet. Thank you. Yeah, that's I know a lot of people are looking forward to that. And speaking on the subject, since Rob said that Rubis does a lot of work, there is one comic that I'm very excited to get my hands on. I haven't yet because it's I got to ship it all the way from Greece. But he has a great comic. It's called Mythomachos, which not that picture. Which I guess it would translate to a mythic fighter or mythic warrior. I guess if I'm correct. Rubis can correct me on that.
Yeah, it's actually that's the cover of the second book coming.
Okay, so let's go. Let's see.
Coming soon. I don't know how soon, but it will be coming. Actually, the concept for this is The Witcher meets Highlander, and historical fantasy fiction story and stuff.
Wow.
He's an immortal warrior living since the years of Alexander the Great, and he's been slaying. The concept is that every hero from every mythology of the world is mythomachos. Because all the heroes fight monsters and they help people. So the more monsters they fight, the more they get to live.
They have a purpose.
And that's the general concept.
Very nice stuff. And Giannis was generous enough to give us a couple of, let's see here, a couple of panels, you could say, of his comic.
They're actually pages. They're an action sequence.
Action, yes. So, and now tell us a little bit about the art. Do you do any type of traditional stuff? You do digital, a mix of both?
I'm working all digital right now.
Digital.
I bought. I have Wacom Cintiq. The huge screen.
Yeah.
I draw. Yeah. Because it saves me time. It saves me money because I don't get to buy paper anymore.
That's right.
So my house is cleaner. Plus, I use Clip Studio Paint instead of Photoshop. It's cheaper and it helps me much more when I'm creating comics. It has some mechanics that help me do stuff easier and faster. And that's why I do the lettering on my own as well.
Very nice. Yeah. Well, some great work. Now, you have a company that you work for. It's Nerdula Labs, or
yeah, it's my company actually.
That's right. Or your company. I'm sorry.
Yeah. No, it's okay.
So if anybody is interested, even though it will be in a different language, you can visit his website and get a closer look of some things as well. Or if you want to learn anything about Rubis, I'm sure he has plenty of information on his site. So
we're trying to translate it in English, because we're too few doing too many jobs there. So
let me ask you, Yanni, when it comes to translating it, is there some type of format that you guys need to follow? Like there needs to be an X amount of comics made, or how does it, what is entailed into translating the comic?
Well, it's quite difficult because, recently we published a book, Athens Dark, which is actually an action horror story with vampires in Athens. So we did a Kickstarter for it, and it was quite successful. But we had to print twice the amount for the the English readers.
Mm-hmm.
So when you are a small company, that's the expenses and all that stuff. It pretty comes up. So we're trying slowly to go into it, the English language, because we have to print twice the amount.
Right.
And paper already has, the paper's price has already risen 3 times so far since the war in Ukraine started. So it's not a good thing.
Not a
It's
good
not
thing
a
at
good
all.
thing.
Oh,
So
man.
it's a slow process. It's a really slow process.
Right. That's great to get a little bit of behind the scenes. I always wonder what exactly is entailed for that. So thank you for sharing.
Oh, my friend, you can ask me anything you like.
Yeah.
I know it firsthand.
Let's see. We got a couple questions here. Will we get any of turns fridges aren't made plastic? That's more Rob direct.
Well, I think that well, I mean, the Harbinger character, it doesn't, Taryn has a very interesting style, and it will work really well for certain monsters that we might make later, but trying to stick to some interchangeable parts for the first few waves was really important. So stylistically, certain body types we had to tone down, but yes, the Harbinger is clearly one of the from a visual standpoint, something that Taryn did. Now, the Pranoid is something definitely came straight from Rubis's art itself. So
My favorite.
you can see how those blend together very well. So what we like to do is we like to take input from all the artists at each different level, from concept art to the sculptor to even the painters, and so kind of blend it together. So sometimes you can work within the body types, and sometimes you have to make some modifications from a theme standpoint. So for at this point, everybody pretty much has already gotten their graphic novel that they've ordered, and we wanted to do a little surprise, and we put some concept art in the back for everybody that we didn't tell everybody about. So I think we wanted to show those here in just a second. But before we do that, I think we can answer a couple more questions. I think someone mentioned they wanted some of the characters from Rubis's novel, Savage Crucible, or at least in toy form. And if you go do a deep dive on Savage Crucible, you might see some of his characters, at least a version of them, make it into Savage Crucible. So, in fact, that the very large demonesque character from there, you might find in a very smaller form on the website. So
I'm praying.
And then let's see what else. Someone was asking, there was a Great Dane in the back. Actually, there's not a Great Dane in the back. It is a Kelpie that someone abandoned out in front of my shop a couple weeks ago.
That's right. So you had him on the or her, right? It's a her.
It's a her. Yep.
Yeah, you had her on the last episode too. So yeah, she's part of the Crucible show now.
Yes, she is. Let's see. What else? What other questions were there? I'm trying to think.
I'm scrolling down here.
The thing about the website is you think you've seen everything on there, and then every time you go back, you'll see something new in the concept art or some other page.
It's great going back, because sometimes also you might pick up some specific detail that you didn't notice the first time around.
Mm-hmm.
We have Venom, I guess, asking Rubis, why not do a translated digital version? I mean, like he said, it's
it's something we're working on. It's something we're working on, because when you get the book out on PDF, there's a lot of money saving in shipping.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And believe me, shipping is killing me right now here in Greece. I have to pay, and all that. Oh, man. I have to pay for my figures, double or triple sometimes.
Oh. I hate that.
That's because of the customs.
Mm-hmm.
Because they, in order to charge you, they use the figure price plus the shipping,
Mm-hmm.
and then they charge you,
Mm.
and that's killing us. Killing
Oh,
my
yeah.
pocket, actually.
Yep. Let's see here. Guillermo, what's up, Guillermo? You saying thank you, Rubis, for those paranoids. They're so sick. Let's see here. The Dane Shaman that we showed earlier.
Thank the boss. He asked for them.
How about this one right here? Can you get a figure that resembles Rob?
Oh Lord, no.
Now, what would Rob be inside
Yes,
of the
please
Crucible?
give us in the comments what character Rob would be in the Crucible.
That-
Rob, I apologize.
no, that's a good one.
Here.
I will be very entertained by the responses on that one.
Yeah, definitely let us know in the comments, guys. In the meantime, while you guys are dropping some comments, we'll show that concept art that Rubis included at the end of that.
There you go, Robin Lion form from Venom.
There you go.
Dolphin.
A Highlander Dolphin Man. Yeah. All right. We'll come back to those, but let's show some artwork here real quick. So we got this is like a Dragon Knight right here, Rubis.
Yeah, we didn't get to use that in. I did some concept art for the end of the graphic novel because we had to fill up some pages, and then we didn't have to fill that many pages, but I did it anyway. So here you go.
One thing that I really like that you do with your art, Rubis, is you'll include another couple of versions of helmets or head sculpts, and that actually is very nice because you get a feel of 3 different characters, let's say. So Scorpionites right here, guys. Check these guys.
Yeah, well, that's an interesting story. When Rob and I were talking about the kind of concept art we would make for the end of the graphic novel, you asked me. It was something like the little creatures in Star Wars.
Oh
Jawas.
yeah.
Jawas, yes, the Jawas. So Rob asked me to do something like Jawas, but I didn't want I want them to resemble Jawas, but not be Jawas. So I had this idea from I thought about desert and scorpions, so I mushed them up, and there you go.
These
Scorpion Knights.
Yeah, I can totally picture these guys just like burrowed in the sand, just waiting for you, and then just spring out. Tim had done, if Tim is still watching, Tim had done this great Desert Scoundrel custom. I could totally see these guys fight, the guy fight these guys. That'd be cool.
And I was actually thinking of them, in large numbers like Jawas, but ravaging, caravans or something.
Yeah.
Caravans, and
great stuff. So this guy, I know a lot of people are probably going to love this guy right here. This lion battle master.
Yeah, that's my thing. I know Nikki has a thing for tigers, right?
Yes.
There you go. Actually, when I first started collecting Mythic Legions, I don't know if you remember, Nikki, I sent you some messages asking you about painting and stuff. That was me.
Okay.
Yeah. So seeing my stuff now painted by you is, I'm geeking out a little bit.
Yeah, there's so much. Whenever I do like a feline custom, it has a huge response. A lot of people like that. But I know when the graphic novel was shown, especially the cover and the characters of the first graphic novel, so many people are asking about the tiger and when are we like that. And now, with this concept art, I'm sure there's going to be a lot more questions about that as well. People really like the felines.
Yeah, and that Dane shaman, I'm sure Rob didn't have anything to do with that. That thing looks so sweet. I love it. I love, and the thing I love a lot is the different tone in bodies here. I love that the shaman is, like a skinnier buck. The battle master is just a beast. You know,
Mm-hmm.
straight protein diet. And these, I mean, anything vampire, just sign me up. So these guys are great. I love. So tell me if I'm correct. Now, this style of armor, very Dracula-esque, from
From
the novel.
Cobble's. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. From Francis Ford Coppola's version of Dracula.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Heavily inspired by that. Lee loves it.
Oh, yeah.
He also did a set that was inspired by that as well for MAFC. So I do hope to get to these guys sooner rather than later, but we do have a lot on our plate to get through. So, but yeah, no, they're definitely on the board. There's no doubt about it.
Actually, these were these were based on the group shot we have in the graphic novel where I made a couple of them. I can't remember. I think I made 3 of them. Mm-hmm. So I decided to make them, in a full figure form.
What's another great thing, the beginning of that graphic novel is you get a lot of art from the different races or, groups that exist within the Crucible. So you see that there's a vast universe or, plane of existence. There's a lot of things going on. So, all right, let's go back to the comments and see here. So Dolphin Man is where I left off.
I'm really sad you don't have dolphin noise on cue.
Yeah, right. Just you got King Rob for sure, gold armor and everything. Let's see, sir. He's not a sir. Come on, no. So we got Sir of the Crucible here. Let's see. Grand Shaman in the Great Dane form. Okay, it's kind of like what we saw in the artwork there. Oh, Space Ranger. There we go.
Space Ranger. Okay.
Like Buck Rogers style, or
I'm not sure. Give us a little more on that. Cool. All right.
I would make Rob, like an Atlantean general, maybe.
Huh. Okay. Interesting.
See that?
I don't know that I'll ever make myself as an action figure. Who-Man was obviously, you and Abraham helped me with that, and there were certain parts of that in the novel that were odes to my brother. And I think the next character that we do that's from someone in real life will probably be Gordon's sister. So I think that's kind of the route we're going. Rubis always sneaks himself in all the concept art. Not all of it, I should say. At least one piece. There's something that's Rubis. Rubis's head is already it may or may not have already been sculpted. But yeah. So I think we're kind of going the route where we just honor people that we know, and I don't really self-promote myself. So Rob Zoolander Merman, that's pretty funny. That's Lee. I can tell you right now, that's Lee.
I would like to do Matt as a dwarf also.
Definitely.
I would love to see that.
I think
that's his thing.
Yeah.
I think we need that. That would be awesome.
My one regret for Powercon is that I'm not bringing everybody, and I had to think about that a lot because we weren't going to have figures for Powercon. So, but at the same time, it's truly expensive when you think about trying to bring everybody together. And so, we're going to have Matt and Kevin, and Stella's going to be there, and Tim's going to be there, and I guess I'll show up too. And I'm sure Eric Miller's going to be running around the show talking to a lot of people. Arlen's going to be there. Arlen's going to have his own table. setting up some of his own figures, his own toy line there. Pretty awesome. I think they just did their debut of that at Joe Fest, if you saw some of those pictures. And who else is coming that off the top of my head? I hope I'm not forgetting anybody.
You said Arlen.
Stelios.
Yeah,
Still,
I'll be there.
yeah.
And Mr. Peak will be there.
So they'll be a big group, and so we hope to get Abraham and Rubis there, and then Lee. Obviously, Nikki will come sometime. She couldn't come this year, and Gordon as well. And we'll just try to rotate it, and we might have to do it more regionally and things like that. But it's when you think about that many people you're trying to bring to one place, the cost gets really prohibitive. But definitely want to give everybody a chance to meet as many people behind the line as possible.
Not only that, you have you're all over the globe too. Everybody's all over the place. So that's also another factor there. And then as far as stuff for sale at PowerCon, Rob, I'm sure.
Oh yeah, so we'll have some hard copies of the graphic novel. They won't be signed by Rubis or Abraham. So hold on to your copies because I think you'll get a chance in the future. So we'll have some copies of that for sale. We'll have some loose coins, some dwarf coins for sale. We'll have some T-shirts. We will still deciding whether or not I want to do a special edition coin because I really enjoy the coins just for feel, but that's something's on the table. And just in terms of what we're going to have for sale. Now we hope to have some samples from the factory to show off. We're not making any promises and I don't want to spoil anything just yet, but we'll certainly have something there to show people. And we'll certainly have some future reveals at PowerCon. So if you get to come, great. If you don't stress out about it. There'll be plenty of pictures. We'll be on the show eventually to talk about it.
Right.
So nothing to stress about.
Tim Peake said he would also be selling his services. He can only get into specifics though in person. So definitely just ask him about his listing when you're there. And he can help you with that too. So. Oh man. We got some people there loving that concept of that lion. They want that lion warrior. I'm sure we'll get something like that. The shaman as well.
RoboGeek. We showed off the packaging design. It's posted in the Facebook group, pinned to the top, and also on the Instagram page.
There we go. Tim C. Rob will be Rob and Savage Crucible wearing a sombrero. Oh, how nice. That's a superpower. Vampire Warriors. Rolling through the comments here. Tim about the Warriors.
Laser pants. Yeah. Are you guys? I know Bobby Valle's coming. So is the whole 3 POA coming or?
The exclusive that he showed off, the PowerCon exclusive that he showed off is really cool. And I definitely, Stelios, I'm going to need you to pick me up too.
Okay.
The Hordak
we got you.
Swarm Trooper. Yeah, I think that's the one it's got some really great colors to it.
Yeah.
Is that the red one, Nikki, or no?
Yeah,
it's
the
one with the red wings. Yeah.
That's right. Okay. We have a question here, Rob, that says, is there any news on how Wave 1 is doing?
Okay. Yeah, Wave 1 is doing really well. At the factory, they're working hard on it. It's a process, and we had to make some modification to some pieces to keep some of the sculpt really nice. But other than that, like I said, we don't want to spoil anything for PowerCon or make any promises, but there'll be something hopefully that we get to show. But so far, we don't have any delays. I think that's the most I'm willing to say. I think I gave you some pictures that we can talk about from a production standpoint, just to give people an idea of the process.
You mean these?
Oh, well, we can start with this.
Different one. Oh, okay. I thought you wanted to show these. Well, since we brought it on
since we brought it on. So some people have seen this before, but I think that some people haven't. So this is, Alex Wu, who's in Hong Kong, one of the the painters on the project and does a lot of great work. And he actually is the brainchild behind this. He was the one that requested this to be made in a clear resin. And the one paint master that people have is actually this. And so, in some sea monsters, the skin's kind of translucent in certain places. So the idea is that for wave 3, one of the figures will be made in translucent plastic, but the paint will be going all over it. So it's actually I think the Fathom Scout. I think it's the Fathom Scout.
Right.
The Fathom Scout is actually going to be molded in a translucent plastic and then painted over. So I think it looks really awesome in person. I think Carlos has seen it and I've seen it. So it looks really cool from that standpoint. We're kind of kicking around ideas on how to maximize this effect. We had the idea of maybe mixing in glow in the dark material, but given that you're painting over it, it wouldn't come through as well. So we're kind of just throwing around ideas. Anybody has some sweet things they want to share or concepts, we're always listening. So, but just, different things you can do that you want to test out. The lead time on that is you want to test it before you go into production, and you kind of want to get a feel for it. So there's certain things that we do, like, for instance, I talked about this before, like Jason at AWOC, Spiro Toys, he allowed us to use his molds to test out this metallic shimmer plastic that the factory never used before, and we had no idea how it would come out. And so those are things that certain creators are very accommodating, and sharing information and tips and tricks on things that have worked in the past and haven't worked. So
something that I really like with this that maybe you could do, Rob, is it looks really cool. Like you could do like some type of water elemental with the clear plastic like this. I think that would be cool. Yeah, I'm really digging this.
Yeah, and if you go back and look at the Fathom Scout Paint Master on the page, you'll notice that translucency around the edges where the paint kind of fades off, and it gives a really nice effect.
I'm looking forward to that one so much. Love translucent stuff. All right, so let's see. Rob, you wanted me to show this guy right here. So
yeah, so this is so when you're trying to produce toys, molding is one of your biggest costs, and so you're trying to account for how much molding you're going to need to produce your figures. And so this is a great example of where you start. So this is, in effect, this is how many weapons we think we can put on one mold, an ABS, and made in ABS plastic. And so this is kind of like your starting point. Like, all right, you've got the sculpts, you got a pretty good idea, you've 3D printed them, their mass, you have an idea of how big the mold is, and you, based on certain things, that you can put about this many weapons on a mold. And I think for wave 1, I think we have 21 different sort of weapons or accessories from a weapon standpoint. So either a sword, a knife, or a shield. That doesn't include any kind of belt accessories. And so I think we have the second one. So we have all the loadout for all the weapons on 2 different molds. Is that right, Stell?
That's right. Yeah. So the second one's right here.
Yeah. And so this just gives you a general idea of like how many weapons that you can kind of fit on a mold. But this is just the first step. So the next step is the third picture kind of shows a little bit better on the layout in terms of you can't have 2. Some people might look at this and go, oh, you have extra space in certain places you can take advantage. Well, the problem you start to run into is if you put too much mass on one plate, that's where you get those lines, those cooling lines, or seam lines. And so you don't want that. So you have to be really particular, and you also create problems with the factory in terms of the plastic cooling before it gets to the right part, and the part's not forming correctly. And so this is just sort of an insight into the process that people don't really know about or don't really see or don't have time to really talk about. Maybe it's not as interesting to other people. But I was having a conversation with the Kroll master himself, Tim, and I don't think that people realize how many actual unique weapons are in the first 3 waves.
Right.
I'd be interested just in the comments for people just to guess how many unique weapons, are in the first 3 waves.
Something that's very interesting too, Robin, you can correct me if I'm wrong, is I believe that the main characters that we've have in the 3 lines, well, actually no, because wave 3, everybody kind of has like their own weapon, but everybody comes with a unique weapon. There's not really that many duplicates, of same weapons. So I find that very interesting and something that I truly love and enjoy because accessories. I'm a big accessory fan, so I love all sorts of types of different accessories, unique accessories and stuff. So
yeah, and a huge thing for me when I'm setting up my displays, especially for fantasy genre, is for the weapons to be very culturally specific. And so I don't want my orc to have a dwarf sword, for example. I mean, yeah, you could do that and have a story. If there's a story that you want to make for that, that's fine, no problem. But I really like to have a lot of thought put into the weapons and be really, really well thought out for that character, why he's going to have that weapon, he or she is going to have that weapon, and a kind of cohesive look for certain groups. So that's huge.
Very true. Very true. Let's see here. Let's go back to the comments, see if we missed anything. Let's see. We got Robo Geek. Any chance of Piranoids with tails in the future, like how some of the Wave 1 lizards have tails? Maybe not specific lizard tails, but like fish tails?
So, yeah, no, the shark figure that Nick had started working on has a tail. And yeah, that is a possibility. And it may not be a fish tail. There might be other kind of sea creatures when you think about it that might have tails. And so, yes, that is a possibility to look into. Very much so.
Yeah, Venom saying translucent action figures are underrated. Yes, they are. They very are. And then Tim saying that translucent crawl figure. Oh man. Yeah, see? And actually, Rob was the first one to engage this time. We were waiting. We're like, we'll let Rob say it, and then we'll start.
See, the problem Tim doesn't realize is every time he brings up Kroll, see, I just associate them together now. The price gets higher and higher. Like, that's the problem. Like,
I definitely enjoyed that movie when I was growing up. I had it on VHS, recorded it off the TV, of course. And I enjoyed it, but it did creep me out when I was a kid. And so I don't think I'd want figures of it. Sorry, Tim. But yeah, I do enjoy the movie, but it's a little dark and creepy for sure.
What was... Oh, I'm sorry, Rubis. He was saying...
I just wanted to know what was the creepiest thing that made you freak out from the movie?
Not the spider scene, because actually I'm fine with spiders. But I think the aliens, when they get killed and the thing in the head goes into the ground, that's pretty creepy. And also the old wizard guy when he was taken over. And
exactly. That was my trauma as well.
Yeah.
Horrible stuff.
Yeah.
You don't have to save his feelings, Nikki. Shot.
But I loved my favorite scene probably in that movie. Well, the glaive, of course, was awesome. I really wanted that when I was a kid. I wanted my own glaive. And then my favorite part was the scene when the horses fly and when their hooves are hitting the air, it's fire. That was awesome. That was really cool.
I really thought you were going to say when the eye is just staring at the girl. That's really what I thought. Like, that's the really creepy thing to me is like, it's like you're a peeping Tom or something weird. Right. Like, it's like really creepy to me. But yeah, the old man scene was really weird. Yeah, that was scary. I agree with that.
Well, you have a 180 degrees turn, from the very sympathetic, kind old wizard that helps them. He becomes the evil incarnation of the beast, and oh my god, and his eyes are all black.
Yeah, that was pretty creepy.
Yeah.
We got a good question here. It says, could we see spider-like races or skeletons of the different races? Actually, Rubis, why don't you tell us about that?
There is a spider-like creature at the beginning of the graphic novel,
Mm-hmm.
and it's actually in the races of. Was it in the races of Savage Crucible?
I
Yeah,
remember
so-
the Atlanteans, I think, fighting it or fighting those spider creatures.
Those weren't Atlanteans, but
No?
I remember that.
What Rubis is referring to is there's a world Bible. It's got like
Yeah, I can't remember.
130 different civilizations in it and things like that. Like it's pretty expansive. It's just a base, and so I also Lee came up with this sort of concept of this thing. So that was also something else that Rubis was just going off of something that I told him to create. But yes, there's definitely a possibility for stuff like that. And in fact, if you're paying attention, there's like little details in all the sculpts. And actually, if you show one of the videos I gave you, it's a great segue. Actually, I couldn't have even.
Do you want to say a couple of things about it, Rob? Because once I play it, we'll be muted.
Yeah, well, they can just play it, and we can just talk about it.
Play it, and then we'll talk about it afterwards. So
yeah. You sculpt around it, and other times you just break the piece apart to preserve the sculpt. So just another example of some behind the scenes stuff that's going on.
And that's the trophy attachment stretch goal for the belts.
Yep. That's exactly what that is.
Awesome. Yeah, I think some of those accessory stretch goals are going to be, they're little, but they're going to make a very big impact. And I think when people get them in their hands, such a little thing can make such a big difference for your character design and your character story on the shelf. I think it's going to be awesome. And I've been working on some behind the scenes. We can't show them right now, but I'm super excited.
Well, I mean, there's, it's not that we're not going to reuse parts. We're not going to overuse parts, but we're definitely going to reuse parts. But if you're committed and you're willing to invest, you can create a lot of parts in the beginning. And then so when you reuse parts with new parts, it still feels very fresh. It's not old. It's not overdone. And then, you can think about the little things like belt accessories, heads, weapons. You can use all those again, but if you use them in a totally different combination that hasn't been seen before, it still feels very fresh, especially when you put on a couple of new, parts. So that's the grand plan. We'll see how it works out.
And as far as that stuff goes, Rob, I don't know if you mentioned it. Are all the characters have plug-in ports, or is it specific ones from, let's say, from wave 1 through 3 that we've seen so far? I know Jaeger has them.
There's port holes in every belt.
Every belt. Okay, so every belt has port holes.
And I'm trying to think. I want to say, I don't remember off the top of my head, but I want to say there's like 12 or 15 belt accessories in the first 3 waves. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
I want to say something around there. Yeah. Oh, yeah. So, I mean, it's a lot. It's it's a lot of variability to create things, and so it's only going to get more complex or advantageous for the person that likes to swap parts out.
So excited. Can't wait. Me too, my friend. Me too. Very cool. All right. So we spoke with Yanni a little bit. Nikki, anything that you want to share with us? Anything
Oh,
cool?
man. Working on some of those stretch goal accessories. That's about it. I painted all day for Savage Crucible, so super excited to see what's the end result of everything. And like Rob said before, there's some things that we need to test out to see how it does with a certain type of plastic or this and that in combination with the paint. And then once all that's finalized, we can start showing some more stuff.
Very nice. Now, I'm 100% sure that your mind is probably racing with ideas for customs and this and that. But what is your most anticipated figure to get your hands on to do like let's say your first custom with Savage Crucible?
Well, it's going to be interesting because I am actually not in a huge rush to customize Savage Crucible because I really want to. One of the important things for me in working on this line is to allow the fans to have an element of discovery. And I want to avoid getting them, in hand and showing all my ideas right away.
Right.
In some cases, maybe before people have their hands on it. I really want to allow the fans to have that element of discovery. So I'm not going to be in a rush to do anything. I really am excited to see what other people do with it. I definitely have ideas for paint schemes that I'd like to see in the future. So I'm going to be kind of playing more on the front end element of that and just showing some different color ideas and seeing if Rob would want to move any of this forward.
Very nice. Yes.
Yeah. But the character I'm most excited about from Wave 1 is Como. I really like his story, just being a hybrid, and he is the only one with that head sculpt, the hybrid head sculpt. So I'm excited to kind of imagine some other hybrids in that world and what they would look like. We chose a color scheme for Como. He's kind of a brown and tannish color with the blue pattern. And so I've been imagining what some other hybrids might look like. So he's the one I'm most excited for Wave 1. Wave 2, I'm probably most excited for Nashorn.
Okay.
Really interesting looking character. And probably the Frazetta figure, because I'm excited to kind of build out that artwork. And I've been exploring Frazetta's work a little bit more. I'm obviously familiar with, more of the heavy hitting pieces. But his his family, who runs all the different social media pages, have been doing a great job sharing some really more obscure stuff. And I found a book at the bookstore the other day with all of his book covers, showing the artwork of all the book covers. So I've just been kind of diving into that. And I think that'll increase my appreciation for Wave 2. Because I'm not super into barbarians and stuff in my own collection, but I foresee expanding that. And then Wave 3, of course, I'm excited about the whole thing. I think that's the wave I'm most anticipating. But that's
all in for Nikki right there.
Yeah.
Very nice. Very nice. Ryan, man, thank you so much for tuning in. We'll catch you at Powercon.
Bye, Ryan.
Bye.
It's so funny that you said that, Nikki, because Rob with the line has done an excellent job of giving us so many accessories and different weapons and variety of characters and armors and stuff like that it is true that you're gonna be enjoying the line as is, before you kind of get your whole customizing brain going and all that. So
right. And that's kind of where I am with AWOC right now. I haven't I have some ideas, but I'm kind of just trying to get some literacy with what the parts are and what the characters are first before I delve into trying to customize anything.
Right.
Yeah.
Let's see. We have a question here. Oops. Joe there. Anything to discuss about the future of my action figure customs with the Savage Crucible line? I don't think so yet. Maybe Rob can fill in a little more info. I don't think you got enough stuff going on, Rob, right?
Yeah. I truly hope that individuals and companies make third-party parts, 3D printed parts for customizers and things like that for Savage Crucible. We'll see what MAFC does. We'll just see. We'll just go from there.
Here we go. Let's see. I don't even remember in what way. Just know I love them all. That's right.
Awesome.
I think we're all in that same boat. We have another question here. Which Frazetta character had the most votes so far for the next figure?
That's a good question. And well, I mean, you can. It clearly of the ones that we pulled, the Huntress.
It was definitely one of the two that we showed. So
that's got the most votes. Does not necessarily mean that will be the next figure,
right?
Yeah,
but that's wave 4 is something that everyone wants us to reveal what's next, and I don't want to yet. There's a lot of reasons for me not to at this point, because we haven't even completely set what that wave is going to be. With the Huntress being so popular, and obviously you want to do it right, you want her to have both the animals with her. That's one of those sort of bigger items. So I don't know if it would be a wave figure or a figure on its own. And with it being a female, that's something that I really want to get right. In addition to obviously honoring Frazetta's style. So there's a lot there. So I don't know that we'll be showing anything like that relatively soon. So we'll see. But yeah, I mean, that's definitely something that I want to do, that I have to get approval to do. Anytime you do a third party, you have to get approval for it. And, the Frazettas are very nice and very kind. And I look forward to doing more figures, and we're going to do more figures so long as, if I have anything to do with it. But yeah, so we'll see. But yeah, the Huntress came out on top, which was nice, was a really great feeling. So we'll see. It may not be the Frazetta figure that we have in wave 4, but we'll kind of see. We're just trying to be really flexible. And there's things that, from a business standpoint, when you have a toy line, you have to have a certain amount of volume to make sure that you can keep producing at the level that we're doing in terms of the tooling. And so when you're talking about something that big in terms of an entirely new figure and an animal, in a sense, that's more tooling than most companies put out in a single wave. So not saying that we won't do it, but that's something that we have to think about.
From your speculations, Rob, do you feel like the Huntress might be the first female character we get in Savage Crucible?
Actually, yeah, it could be. It very well could be.
Very nice. That would be great. That would be awesome. Let's see here. We had there we go. This was a good question. Saying, any plans to make larger figures as well? I know a shark was mentioned. Will there be a standard size or bigger than the others?
So, are there plans? Yes. Certainly. There are larger figures that I want to make. But the first figures that we come out with, we're actually going to be smaller. Besides just a dwarf. So that goes back to the concept art that Rubis was showing, things that I alluded to about a saddle on a Dane. There are plenty of size holes to fill, and there's skinnier figures, there's fatter figures, there's shorter, there's halflings, there's mixed races. So there's plenty of things to do. From my own collecting standpoint, I feel like there are a lot of areas that are actually smaller that are really neglected, in my opinion, versus bigger figures. The problem you get into with bigger figures is it costs a lot more, it makes the price points a lot higher, It takes up a lot more space. And I don't know about you guys, but I am definitely noticing the trend for bigger and bigger.
Mm-hmm.
And my mind keeps going, where the hell are you going to put everything?
I know, right?
So that's just my perspective. But yeah, we're going to do bigger figures. There's no doubt about that.
Now, Rob, when you do, this is kind of like a personal question. When you go bigger, is it easier in the sense of sculpt that you just kind of blow the existing sculpt up? And is it harder going smaller because you're making, let's say, a new type of sculpt, or that has different cuts? Like a good example is the dwarf having different arm cuts, I believe.
Yeah, different
Than the bigger
articulations.
one. So
So the thing that you run into that you need to be mindful of is stability and weight. So that if you make a bigger figure, it's heavier. All right.
Mhm.
And then the joints have to be a lot stiffer to I can see you, sweetie. I know what you're trying to do. Get down. So thank you. So I think that's the biggest consideration. Is just in terms of the joints that they're limited in terms of the articulation because of the weight and things of that nature. So detail wise, no, detail is all about the sculpting and over exaggerating the sculpt so that it shows up in the molding process. And so that's relatively easy. It's trial and error, certainly on the sculptor's part, certainly on the business standpoint, but you can get away with not as complicated joints the smaller you go. But at the same time, the smaller you go, the more stability issues you have. So if you think to like 4-inch figures, some of those joints can be really tricky in terms of if they stick or not, and they're really easy to break because there's not as much mass, right? So that's something else that you have to consider. So
very nice. Let's see, Guillermo here. This is a Rubis question. Is there a Frazera character, Rubis, you would like to see in figure form?
Easy question. Conan the Barbarian.
I knew it.
I mean, come on.
Tracking back a little bit to how Rob was saying how Rubis loves to include himself in his graphic novels. Conan is another person I believe that you love to throw in there. Conan, let's say, not in name.
Inspired.
Well, actually, it's the original Robert Howard stories are now in public domain, right?
That's right.
So,
but yeah,
it's way more complex than that.
It's a little. Yeah, I was just about to say.
Yeah, I know, but I do have plans of making my own graphic novel of Queen of the Black Coast at some point.
Nice. Yeah.
It's based on a Howard story, so I don't believe there is going to be any rights problem, as far as I know, at least here in Greece. So I will try. I mean, the French already did it.
And the rights are different in the U.S. versus Europe.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
It goes into public domain a lot sooner in Europe than it does in the United States.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it does?
Yes.
Oh, well, that's nice.
Yep.
I didn't know that. So yes, the answer is Conan the Barbarian.
Conan. And Rubis, what is a figure you're most excited for to get from Savage Crucible?
I love, the second wave, the Barbarians. It's my thing. I love them. But you mean from what we've seen so far, from the three waves?
Yeah, from the three waves that we've seen so far.
From the three waves. I want Harbinger.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I love that guy. And at some point, if Rob or Taryn allows me, I would like to draw that guy in armor.
Okay.
Which brings up the subject of alternate outfits for the different characters.
There you go.
And the circle came complete. Oh man, just can they be here already?
I know.
I have some ideas for the Harbinger, but I don't know if it's okay.
Yeah, they're always okay, Rubis.
Okay. Yeah, I'd love to see that one. What's the opposite of Harbinger? Is there a character that of equal power that can deal with the Harbinger? Savage Crucible.
So that's a great question. Talus is the closest off the top of my head, which we haven't really talked about a whole lot. There is a one. I think there's like one piece of concept art, and he actually is in the video for a short second, or I don't know, maybe 6 seconds or so. But I think that's closest to it. That's a great question to really pose to Abraham, I think. Because I think he should be the depth that man goes to and coming out with stuff is it's amazing. So,
well, Abraham is a genius
yeah,
when it comes to character creation.
Yeah,
Abraham is a genius.
I would say to all the viewers, when we do have Abraham on, definitely, do your homework. Write down your questions. About lore, all that, because that's it's going to be a good
the thing I enjoy the most working with Abraham is that he writes he has this cinematic narrative, and when he describes characters to me, he always uses examples of actors or actresses, new or old.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't matter, but he has this. I don't know. He's the best writer I've ever worked with. He's amazing.
We had a question earlier saying if we're going to do a Death Dealer with a horse. Rob has already said he has plans for it. Probably not anytime soon, but it's on the back burner for sure. Let's see here.
Yeah, I think the idea there is to get to. There's been some companies that have done Death Dealer and some of the more popular Frazetta figures. So get to some things that haven't been developed in figure form yet.
Exactly.
And really showcase some of that artwork, that lesser known artwork.
We have a Facebook user asking, we will see any more figures of the characters introduced in the first graphic novel?
Yes.
Let's see. It says, Rob, have you had any discussion with any other licenses? They're coming for you, Rob.
Not really. I mean, I've researched stuff. I've had some conversations. But there's already so much to do before getting bogged down. There's already so much to do with the Frazetta Museum already. I'm not saying that we wouldn't plug something in at the right moment, but it's touchy and you got to meet people. And so you also have to prove yourself. So people have to understand, like, Savage Crucible is very new. Harbinger Studios is very new.
Mm-hmm.
And so getting the first 3 waves out is very important in being successful and having the fan base. And I think from there, we can explore that to a certain degree. I don't have any problems with that because there's characters that I love that I want to see,
Mm-hmm.
So
exactly. Yeah.
But the things about licensing they're very complicated. It can be very complicated, especially stuff that isn't mainstream, like being put out today. Like in some ways, getting the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles license is way easier because it's very straightforward on who owns what and where you have to go, blah, blah, blah. Things that were made into a movie that were written by somebody that may or may not be alive or some, in a different country, those things start to get very complicated. And then when you talk about someone doing a character like written, and then a movie came out later, that complicates the rights. And then you can go into like, well, someone says that they own the rights. Do they truly own the rights? Well, it doesn't really matter if they're willing to sue you.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
So just because there are still people that get sued over Lovecraft for things that have gone in the public domain, they take it to court, they might lose, or they might win, but it's the whole fight of the legal system.
Exactly.
The deterrent to wanting to do those certain things. So we'll see. But yeah, no, we have so many characters to put out just between the Frazettas and Savage Crucible that we'll see from there. I don't want to oversaturate anything.
Right. Yeah. We got a lot coming, guys. We have there's a lot headed our way. So
and there's so much like original, amazing concept art and ideas from the Savage Crucible team. So many. It's going to take a long time to get to just that. So, yeah.
Plus, I can guarantee you, Rob, that if you want the Mythomachos license, there won't be any problem there. I can guarantee you that.
He won't sue you.
He has some great characters. There's no doubt about that. Yeah.
Man.
And actually, that's something that we have talked to, like, me and Jason have talked about over AWOC is having crossover, like what does Pale look like in Savage Crucible? That kind of concept, right? Like those. And so that's a great going into Rubis's character is exactly the same thing. So yes, those are certainly things that are on our mind.
And the great thing is too, once people have those figures in hand and the way the lore is built about the Crucible, any of your pre-existing figures, whatever you have, can be a part of the Crucible.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't necessarily have to be made by by Savage Crucible. So let's see here. We have a question about the Huntress. It says if you can do a standalone release, similar to how Super 7 did Mandora and her cycle for Thundercats. People can order the figure and the beast separately.
Yeah, we've talked about that internally. Maybe there's other ways to reuse the tooling for that type of animal with different heads and different parts to get more use out of the tooling moving forward. But it's also just about making sure that if you invest in a female buck, you want to be able to use it for future females as well. So that's another consideration there.
We got Tim asking where you're going to change that curtain, Rob. It looks dreadful.
I promise I will get to the office. Everybody's on me about what it looks like in terms of I'm glad you guys have never come to my apartment. I move into my house. It's under renovations next month. So, there are other things going on at the moment. So.
Yeah, it says, let's get some skinny bodies and some thick girls.
Fair enough. I'm with you.
Ooh. Laser pants. Yep. Come on, calm down there.
I would too. I'm not gonna lie.
That would be awesome.
I would.
Titans. Yeah, a lot of people want to see that. Got Conan the Barbarian by Grom. Let's see, what else? Tim, you noticed? It says doesn't have pants on. Here's a good question that Rob can talk about. He says, are the armors swappable?
Very much so. Shins, forearms, deltoid armor, shoulder armor, chest armor, all that, waist pieces. It's all meant to be interchangeable to create new looks, different effects. So very much so.
Alex saying, when will the second and third wave be up for pre-order?
That's a great question. I don't want to put the second one up for pre-order until about, I want to say it's going to be in the fall sometime. I want to make sure that wave, I have to think about it some more, but it's kind of this idea that I don't mind putting 2 up for pre-order, but I need to know that 1 is shipping from China. At that point, maybe it's on the water, so to speak, and then I'll be able to do it, because there's sort of like this whole concept of, you want to do a pre-order, you want the figures from Wave 1 going out, you want people to feel like they know what they're getting at that point before they're putting too much into the line. And also there's that timing aspect of, we'll have an in-stock sale. How much in stock we're going to have, that's to be determined, that kind of stuff. So those are things that I have to think about in terms of timing. But I also don't want to overburden everybody. You don't want to put a pre-order up during Christmas, like that's shitty. So those are things, and if I do, then I want to make it like a long window, because I want to give people time to think about it. It's every business has their own idea on how they want to do it. Some people have a pre-order window of 48 hours. Some people do 4 weeks or 8 weeks. I'm kind of the mindset that, if you give people a bigger window, you're being generous. Is it the smart thing to do from a business standpoint? Maybe not, but I'm not going to run a business based on fear of missing out. So,
right. And I think that's very considerate of you, Rob, especially with the way economy is kind of going right now. So,
yeah,
let's see.
I've definitely had to cut back a ton, so it's appreciated.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
We have Joseph asking, not sure if anybody asked this, but will we get any more Wolfman characters? And Rubis has drawn some amazing, all sorts of Wolfmen, like full on like lycanthropes to to wolf like warriors to like great stuff. And I'm all for it, because anything vampire, werewolves, all that.
Yeah, I think and Rob, you could probably speak to this more intelligently than I can, but there are a couple companies doing Wolfmen right now, so it'll be an art form to take it in a different direction and not tread what's being done.
Very true. Yeah. Here's a good question. Justin said he doesn't know anything about the Frazetta Museum, but do they sell merch, and will they be selling the Frazetta figure, once it's available?
Yeah.
The Frazetta Go ahead. Yeah, no. I mean,
all kinds of prints and merchandise available. I actually just ordered some awesome art coins off of there, because I thought they'd go really well with the decoder and the dwarf coins and all the coins that are going to be coming from the Kickstarters. So I thought that would pair really well. And there's a whole set of awesome artwork coins from there. So definitely check out. It's FrazettaMuseum.com.
Great stuff. Let's see. God of War. Kratos would be cool. He's one of my favorite characters.
It's a great video game, that's for sure. All 3. Hell, there's probably like 5 by now.
Just Rage, yeah. There's like side stories that they did and stuff.
There's a lot of questions in there.
Let's see. We have you seen the Smilodon by Cyberzoic that's coming out?
Yes.
I'm sure Nikki has. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's fantastic.
It looks amazing. I have a lot of his, I really like David's work. I have a lot of his, I was in on the first Kickstarter with the Raptor series, and I got a couple of the Triceratops, and now he's doing the Tyrannosaur series. And of course, starting the new Cyberzoic line. I think his Smilodon is going to run a bit small. It's, I believe it's 1/18 scale. And yes, his dinos are 1/18 as well, but they look perfect next to 7-inch figures for a fantasy line, of course, too. So I think the Smilodon will work as like a companion animal, but not a mount, which is fine.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Actually, speaking of that, leads us right to the next question here. What about mounts? Savage epic ones. I think we've talked about that too in the past. Rob has said, he does have plans for them. Maybe not the typical ones you get, but we'll see.
Yeah, there's things that we want to do, and we get the want for it, and so we'll get there.
Going a little old school, battery operated miniatures, handheld lanterns and torches.
Yeah, see, he's cheating. Yeah. he knows that I talked to him about this the other day. And in fact, I got an email from Chuck. I was letting him know that I need him to work on it because I already talked to the factory about what I wanted, and they said they could make it happen, but I still need a prototype to get it over there. So that's all I'm gonna say.
Let's see here. Tim wants mummies. Says Bionic says anytime estimate for wave one. Totally understand it takes time. Just curious if it's a second half 23 or first half 24 plan.
The estimate has not changed. We're still shooting for, what is that? Into October, November. We hope to have it shipped out from the factory. So my idea is to have this to everybody before Christmas. If there's any delays, we'll let you know. But right now, we're okay.
Let's see. Got one here. Can you explain a little bit about how the power through the weapons works in the graphic novel?
It's classified.
Mm-hmm.
I'm kidding. I mean, that's a great thing, and I don't want to ruin anything that Abraham has in his mindset. And that's the great thing about when you bring in other artists to help build out your world. There's how I think things work. There's how Rubis thinks they work in his mind and how he draws them out and visualizes them. There's how Abraham wrote them, and so between the three of us, they may not be the same answer, right? And so when I think of it and when I discussed it, there's certain artifacts that can help channel those powers. And when someone's learning those things, they might sort of think of it like crutches in terms of like, if you have a sword, it might be a lot easier to channel through something until you master the ability. And then you could have artifacts that actually accentuate the abilities. And so, no, you don't have to have a weapon to channel an ability through. But the idea is that for novices and people starting out that have the powers, because not everyone has those abilities, having a weapon in hand is a great way to channel it, to learn how to. And that was the original premise.
Wow. Real good stuff. Elephant mounts. That'll be a Kickstarter, I think. Let's see here. Would you be oh man, this is talking my language here. Would you be willing to do mega figures of your own versions of the Greek Titans?
Yeah. I mean, there's some great stuff out there to do that hasn't been done. So, and visually speaking, I think that would be awesome. But once again, we get back to shelf space. Mm-hmm. And where do we want to put our most bang for our buck to begin with, right? Because if I can build out molding and tooling that I can use multiple times, then I can take those moonshots later to make a figure that I only plan on putting out one time, right? Right. And so, the brand has to grow to that standpoint, because I have no problem producing a figure and putting all the tooling costs into a one-time use. There's certain one times that you can do that, right? And that's fine, but you have to have the volume to justify that. And so when we have that volume, I have zero problem about doing that.
Plus, for the Titans, you're going to need a lot of plastic. There are some beings there with 100 arms or 100 heads. So how are you going to do that?
He has like a serpent bottom, like he's got, like Titan up top. He's human up top.
Yeah, and 100 dragons coming out of his body. I mean, come on.
Any update on Lee's Harbinger throne, Rob?
Yeah, so Lee's done a great job with that. The delay is actually on me. We're trying to ensure that the most amount of figures can actually fit on the throne with their waist pieces. Mm-hmm. When we designed the figures, we didn't really think of people having them sit down. So when you think about the Harbinger and he's got a long, the back piece, the waist piece is very long in the back. So having him able to sit is problematic. Talk to the Stroop family, Sean, about maybe them doing a soft good at some point, but that's where the delay is. It's just a mechanical thing. We've got it pretty much already sculpted out, but we have to make some changes just to make sure that we can have a figure sitting there and looking like it's supposed to sit in there. So,
not hovering.
Yep.
When those big doggos coming.
I hope to print one off so that people can see them at PowerCon. That's on my agenda to do. So I told Arlen that I would at least get one printed out. I hope I can keep my word on that one.
We hope so too. Let's see. Here we go. Are the slates going to be a matte flay finish?
Flat.
Yeah, definitely flat. Tell us about the hidden prizes.
I mean, I'm not saying flat. I was just correcting his.
Yeah, right.
Sorry.
We won't answer that previous question. It's just know that it's a surprise.
Yeah, if I tell you about it, it's not a damn surprise. I don't know how else to be more clear about it.
We can't tell you everything. You guys got to get excited about something once you
Just know, just like the graphic novel, I like to put in stuff that you didn't purchase.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't buy the product because that was in there. And so I want to make this fun, and I wanted to add an element of surprise and collectability to it, and add value to what you guys were getting. So I hope everyone likes it. I think they will. Logistically, it's a pain in the ass to do. But I really wanted to do it, and it does cost a decent amount of money to have us to come through with it. So we'll see.
Yeah, and going back to the slate question, Rob, you had talked about potentially it being in the slates are molded in a single color plastic with paint apps on the eyes and the mouth. Mm-hmm. Is that plastic more flat, or does it have more of an effect to it?
So since they're not made yet, that's people like, show me the color. I'm like, how can I show you the color of a plastic that we haven't molded and injected yet? So the plan is to use a shimmering metallic in the slate. And so based on the test results that I have in one color, the flatter the surface, the more the shimmer comes through. And so I hope that it does really well on the reptilian skin. I think it will, but that's a gut. So we're just going to have to see. But in terms of like how shiny or flat it is definitely a call on the plastic. That's something that we'll have to make at production. So, but I understand why they're asking, but I can't give you an answer because you're just going to come back and tell me I was wrong. And I'm like, well, no, I'm going to go with what I like.
Rob, have you considered a maker?
No, I have not considered, but it's very interesting.
That's
well, now I need a macromancer.
I mean, and so
Aquaman's in Atlantis? Like, why couldn't I be named that?
And so what's really interesting is if you go watch the animated video, there's a character in there on the ship, and that character is based off of some concept art that Rubis did, but Rubis did the concept art based on armor. It's just an armored guy, right? But the character in the animation looks like an actual monster. And so in my mind, I worked with that, and I was like, okay, so the armor is more of a sort of honoring or an ode to a former villain or character. And so that's sort of like a position, like that person takes over and they wear that armor. And it's sort of like, this like sort of lieutenant general kind of concept. So maybe if the original guy was like a mackerel master, that's good. Yeah, I can work with that. Yeah.
I dig it.
Savage Con, when?
Yeah, we'll see.
We'll
see. We'll see how everybody likes the first two waves, and we'll talk about it.
All right. And then follow up on that, he said, asking because matte flat will take paint better, in his opinion. So That's a good thing to think about.
What take paints better is actually way more. And Fabian is an artist, and he does work with a lot of materials, so he understands this. But as someone who used to work in the industrial painting industry, it's a combination of the substrate and the actual paint. So one substrate with a different paint will not adhese, and the same substrate with the same paint with a different substrate will adhese. So it takes both to determine what's actually going to have adhesion. So the substrate is a part of it, but B is also the paint. So certain paints will stick to a lot more different plastics than others. So, but getting back to, the average customizer is using a water-based paint. So that's a fair statement. I'll have to think about that a little bit. And also it goes back to the detail in the sculpt. The rougher the skin, the more edging there is, the more paint sticks, the more it can grip. The more smooth the surface is, the harder it is to get the paint to stick. So that's a much bigger consideration in my mind, but I can see where he's coming from. Yeah.
Interesting. All right. Well, we went through the questions here. Anything, Nikki, you would like to add that we haven't spoke about today?
I don't think so. I hate being put on the spot like that, but
sorry,
that's okay.
Not intentional, but
I'm just really excited for production and to be able to show some of the stuff that all of us have been working on.
Very nice, very nice. And thank you so much for tuning in with us and being on tonight. It's great to have you guys and talk to you guys. The fans too, they love having that interaction with you guys, and we love getting questions and having you guys answer them. Rubis, you too, my friend. Thank you so much for staying up.
Thank you.
And to be with us. It's It's like 3:00 in the morning there, right?
3:30.
3:30. Yeah. So yeah. So
yes,
you definitely trooped it for us today. So thank you so much.
It's a pleasure. It's a pleasure.
And with that, guys, thank you to everybody that tuned in with us. Looking forward to whoever's going to go to Powercon to meet you guys there and talking to you guys in person. And definitely check up the YouTube page. I'm putting Rubis's video as soon as we finish here. I'm putting that up, guys. I haven't forgotten.
You'll love it. You'll love it. It's awesome.
Oh my God.
With that, thank you guys so much. We'll see you on the next episode.
Thanks, everyone. Have a good night.